In the last tutorial, we talked about how writing screenplays with all formatting rules and all that crazy stuff can be a little overwhelming sometimes. So we can use software like Final Draft here to help us with this process. It's super clean. You can see the interface here. It's not like Microsoft Word where you've got like a billion things going on everywhere yelling at you. It's super clean. It's meant just for screenplay writing. It's got a lot of great tools for that. Really easy to do. So we have this blank screen. What we're going to do is actually type out the first scene of the assurance. We could kind of go through this process together and also see how Final Draft makes this super easy. The key here is using on the keyboard the Enter key on the PC or the Return key on the Mac. As we hit that, we get this context-sensitive menu that tells us, or gives us access to all the basic components of a screenplay. And we could use these letters on our keyboard after hitting the Enter Return key to jump to a certain element here. So let's say I wanted to write a transition, I could just simply hit the Enter key and then hit the letter T for transition. If I want to do it the real slow way, I could actually use the up and down arrow keys and then hit enter again, or I could use the mouse to click. But the real fast way to do this is hit the enter key and then the letter of the thing that you want to write. So I'm going to hit enter and then T, and I could write a transition. So I could write fade in, and it automatically has this smart type feature that just starts to type it for you. So this in right here, I didn't type this yet. It's faded out. But if I just hit enter again, it will make the assumption for me. I didn't have to set up any kind of margins or change the font or put in the size. All that stuff is taken care of for me automatically. Now you look down here at the bottom, it tells me automatically that I'm going to write a scene heading. It knows that after you make a transition and you go to the next line, it automatically says scene heading. I can hit enter and do something different if I wanted to, but I don't. That's typically what happens. So now I could just start typing my scene heading. And again, it automatically knows once I start hitting E in the scene heading that it's going to be an exterior shot, which it is. And I could hit tab to go to the next spot. It automatically puts that space in for me. I'm going to type in foggy lake and then space hyphen space. And I could just hit letter D for day, and it just puts in day for me. So now I could start writing the action scene. It changed that over for me, the element now. And this action is basically the description that we talked about in the last movie. So little girl, Cordelia, and then I'm going to put the little pronunciation guide here. That's how I did it in the script. So that's how I'm going to do it here. And then put her age in parentheses as well. Stands alone, thoughtful. So now I'm typing here while you're looking at me, so I feel like I'm getting judged. So I'm a little nervous, so I'm making some typos. Forgive me. Now, what I want to do is hit enter again, and I can change the category, the element that I want to use. And I actually want to have some dialogue, some voiceover. So what I would do is I first need to say character. So I'm going to hit enter and then C, and then I could put in her name, Cordelia. Now, this is actually a voiceover. If I didn't put anything else, it's going to assume that whoever's reading the script is going to assume that Cordelia is speaking on screen, and she's not. This is a voiceover. So I'm going to type space and then an open parentheses, and then I have these different directions that I can use. I can do a voiceover, off screen. A lot of times if somebody's been talking and then there's maybe some action again, and then they keep talking, it says you can use continued. You don't have to do that. A lot of people don't, but I like to use it. But I'm just going to go ahead and use VO for voiceover, and then let's write her voiceover. It's so hard to believe. I keep dreaming, and then we can just use an ellipsis, and we don't have to keep writing out all of her dialogue. But notice that as I hit enter, after we typed in the character section, and also as I click in these different parts in my script, this updates to reflect what I'm clicking in. So this is the scene heading, this is the action, this is the character, this is the dialogue. So as I hit enter after character, it automatically switches to dialogue for me. Now, after I'm done with my dialogue and I hit enter again, it automatically goes back to action. So I can just start typing the description. Now, I might want to have a conversation and I might keep going back and forth. So I could hit enter and then C to get back to my character. But a lot of times when you're writing a character, you want to go right next to dialogue, and then right after your dialogue, you want to go back to your action. So Final Draft does this amazing job of just kind of anticipating what you probably want to do, which is so helpful. Now, I'm not going to bother to type in the rest of this voiceover here, but that's the end of this scene. So I could hit enter, to go to the next line. And then I actually want to make a new scene, not action. So I hit enter and then S for scene heading. And now I can start typing exterior. This is actually lakeside, space, hyphen, space. And then this is still day. And I can continue on, so on, and so forth. So you could see, especially after talking about all those rules in the last tutorial, this makes things so much easier. And it's just such a clean interface. And Final Draft 8, this is the version that I'm using right now, is unbelievably stable. I don't know if it's ever crashed on me in the years that I used it. Now, that being said, Final Draft I find to be very expensive. And it's also has a very limiting license. I've heard that the new version is kind of buggy. Though, again, that's just based on reviews. I don't own it myself. But as you can see here from their website, $250 for the screenwriting software. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. And again, for Final Draft 8, the licensing I felt was a little restrictive. And there also was more features that I wanted in my screenwriting software. So after using Final Draft for a few years, I kind of looked around for what else was on the market because I was looking for something more a little bit. So in the next tutorial, we'll talk about some solutions that I have found, some alternatives to Final Draft if it doesn't float your boat. We'll talk about that in the next tutorial.